Welcome to Après Sailing, your one-stop shop for all things SailGP after an incredible event here at the DP World Spain Sail Grand Prix. Emirates Great Britain took their third event win of the season. The race to Abu Dhabi is really shaping up, and it's been a weekend of high highs and low lows for both Los Gaios and Rockwool, Denmark. I'm joined by CJ and Lisa. Lisa, what a weekend.
It was such an epic weekend of racing. I think what it goes to show is that until the very last race, we didn't know who was going to make the final. And then in that final, until the very last turn, we didn't know. So it was super exciting to watch. I think it's leveling up and up. Pressure is increasing, and what a great day of racing it was.
How about for you, CJ?
Yeah, it was an awesome weekend of racing. It was really cool to watch EmiratesGBR get their third event win of the season. But even more, I was super impressed to see Team Germany get back-to-back into the final. They didn't manage to take the win like they did in Geneva, but I think it goes to show that they're here to play. A lot of people thought that that win in Geneva was maybe a stroke of luck, but I think they disproved that, and it was really great to see.
What a steep learning curve for Germany. There's something's really clicked in the last few events. What do you think it could be?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was actually quizzing Eric about that earlier, and he said, I just don't think it's one thing or another, but really in sailing, often it's who makes the least amount of mistakes. And I know that sounds really hard, but I mean, perfection is so difficult out on a racetrack. So when you don't make mistakes and other people are, you tend to shine. And I think that's what they did really well all weekend. Their starts were all incredible. They gave themselves the opportunity to show what they've got. And with the high pressure foiling maneuvers, they were once again, time after time executing, and it was really, really cool to see.
If we look at that event final race, it was just neck and neck right to the end. How ruthless from Dylan Fletcher at that last mark. I guess you two are athletes, I'm not. It's part of your mentality, right?
I think it's one of those things that if you have the opportunity to hurt someone, to overtake them, to use the rules into your favor, you've got to take it. And I know, Dylan and Pete have a long history racing at the Olympics together, and I think you see those situations when you're racing at a high level, and when it starts to play out in front of you, you know exactly how you can execute to fall into your favor. And I think knowing that those two have a really high chance of making the final, it just goes to show that Dylan wants to tell Pete that he's here to take the win.
The momentum is all with Emirates. CJ.
Yeah, it goes to show how important the start is as well, because that 3-boat final is much different than the 12-boat fleet race in terms of strategy, because as we saw, the Kiwis and the Germans, they battled it out a little bit, and that opened the door for EmiratesGBR. So it goes to show that getting into that 3-boat final is really difficult, and the strategy changes a lot.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing with a 3-boat final, which when we reflect upon the events, but also the championship deciding finals, is you can't ever just get in a battle with one other boat, because Black Pearls were trying to take Germans out, which open the door for Emirates Great Britain. If we look at the championship final, Australia and New Zealand were fighting, and it left the door open for Spain. So tactically, it is such a difficult race to race. You kind of have to optimize, protect your position, but it's a completely different game.
Yeah, you're completely right, and I think we even nearly saw that right at the end of that race, where Emirates Great Britain and the Black Foils got caught up at that mark. They came off the foil.
Was take it.
You were like, come on!
So close. Everyone was on the edge of their seats. It's been a good final when all the coaches are literally on the edge of their seats. There was all the investors basically touching the glass wall. It was insane.
It was, and the momentum is definitely with Emirates Great Britain going into the Abu Dhabi Grand Final. How's it shaping up for Dylan? Where's their mindset at, do you think?
I think for the British it's an interesting one, because whilst they're very strongly positioned going into Abu Dhabi, you have to approach Abu Dhabi as that anything can still happen. So I expect them to go to try win the event. I think the other thing is you want to be putting that pressure on yourself in every single race, so that when you get to the final, those kind of triggers are firing, that battle mindset is there. So I wouldn't expect them to back down. I think the only thing that they have in their favor is that they can sort of protect the asset, in the sense of if it is a really tight situation, they don't have to go for the kill. They can back off, protect their F50. But we were talking throughout the commentary is, because they are so well positioned, are they going to choose to hurt Australia or hurt Spain or hurt New Zealand to try pick who they want in the top 3? But I don't think we're going to see that.
We've actually got a very wet Hannah Mills covered in champagne. Hannah, would you like to join us here?
Thank
Looking a bit soggy. I'm guessing it's not from the sea.
Fuming, yeah. I've just had a shower, and then out comes the champagne again.
Congratulations!
Thank
what
you.
an
It's
amazing
a good problem
event.
to have.
You know what? As Goose put it, there's worse smells to have on you, so it's okay.
The taste of victory, the taste of
Yeah.
glory. Talk us through that last race. It was neck and neck. It was really tight. It looks very exciting out there.
It was amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than a race like that for the final, of just like battling it out, place changes, all comes down to the last mark. And yeah, we managed to get on the good side of it and get around the Kiwis to take the win. So it was amazing.
I think one interesting thing is obviously you guys are at the top of the leaderboard now, going into Abu Dhabi in such a strong position, but also making so many finals throughout the season. That puts you in a good position, being prepared for a very high pressure final.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the finals are so tricky. Obviously the start's super important, but equally we've seen quite a lot the third place boat actually win, you know, off the start line, and the first two have a bit of a tussle and the third boat sneaks through. So I think wherever you are off the start line, it's all on, and especially in a venue like Abu Dhabi, where, you know, there's shifts, there's pressure changes, there's going to be all sorts to play with. Strategically, it'll never be over till it's over.
We've seen you go 3 up a couple of times in the light wind. You seem to do very well in that configuration. Are you hoping for light winds in Abu Dhabi, or do you not mind?
We don't mind at all, to be honest. Yeah, our team feels really strong in all the conditions, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, whatever. I think all the top teams are amazing in all the configurations. So I think, you know, whatever the conditions, it'll be a really good battle. And, you know, we still don't feel safe, for sure, in terms of making the grand final. I know we've got a good lead, but anything can happen in SailGP. We've seen it time and time again, and yeah, you can't ever get complacent. So we'll be battling it out all weekend, and hopefully battling out in the final as well.
Well, it looks like Dylan's not afraid to obviously push the boat, push the F50s and boat-on-boat situations. So as, I guess, a strategist, having the trust in your driver that he's going to fight till the very end, that must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, Dill's done such an impressive job this season, coming in as a new driver at the start of the season. I know he did a bit in season 1, but that's a long time ago, and the boats are pretty different now, and everything's, yeah, stepped up. So yeah, he's done a phenomenal job, and I think our team just feel really confident in where we've built throughout the season. You know, we're really rough patch in the middle on the American legs, and really come back from that in Portsmouth and then built on it from there. So yeah, we feel good, but yeah, it's always nerve-wracking. One race, winner takes all. Yeah.
Looking in from the outside, like a complete outsider here, it looks like you've got all the momentum, and do you feel that in the team? Can you feel like, oh, bring on the next event?
I think, yeah, 100%. I think SailGP is funny, and actually I'm not like that with sport. I know a lot of people talk about momentum and moving forward, but with sailing, I never feel like that. I always feel like every day is a new day, and anyone can come out firing, and you've just got to come out with yourself firing and you know, do the best job you can and hope that that's good enough. So yeah, I'm all about just each day at a time.
Well, congratulations. Go and get dried off. We'll see you in Abu Dhabi. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Hannah.
Hannah. Well done.
Yeah.
The Abu Dhabi Grand Final is our next event, and the top 3 is certainly shaping up for the winner takes all $2 million prize and the Rolex SailGP Championship title on the line. Who do we think we're going to see to fill that 2nd and 3rd spot?
The Black Foils are certainly in a really strong position. They've got a really good point buffer, which is what you want, because it means you can focus on yourself, you can focus on preparing for that grand final, and just keep, you know, one eye on everyone else. It's very different for the Bonds Flying Roos that actually really do need to hold strong. It's not like they're tied on points, so they have a little bit of a buffer, but for them, they will probably stick a lot closer to Spain to try hold them out. And then for the Spanish, they're in a position where they have to go for the win, and they have to hope that either the Black Foils or the Bonds Flying Roos have a shocker. And it's really tough when you're in that situation. Whilst you can play for yourself and try hurt the other athletes, you kind of need other teams to spoil the party. So it's going to be tough for Spain, but the best thing they have done is they've salvaged this weekend to make sure they're still in the fight, but it's going to be really hard.
Yeah, and
CJ,
as you said, I think Team Spain is definitely still in the fight, because as we've seen in the past, the Bonds Flying Roos, light air isn't their strength, and the last time we were in Abu Dhabi, they finished in 7th. So, you know, I think anything can happen for sure.
If you were Spain going into that next event and you were behind and you need to claw back to take on the Bonds Flying Roos, CJ, what's your strategy? Are you just going all out match racing against them, or are you just going to sail your race?
I think it's most important to sail your own race and to just try to do the best that you can. Normally, when you think too hard about getting into fights with other boats, it usually doesn't help you that much in the end. So I think for them, just going out and trying to do the best that they can with the event.
Well, we can hear from Los Gallos and the Spanish team and see where their heads are at going into Abu Dhabi.
Flo, awesome effort out there. You're still in the hunt for the grand final, but how stressful was it really?
It was stressful. This morning we were quite serious. We had a game plan. We managed to pull that off in the first race. And then from there onwards, it started to get a bit tricky for us. But yeah, just getting that home, that one race win in our home event was very special. We could really hear the crowd cheer on very loudly. And yeah, after all, it was not the best event, but we're still sort of in the hunt. It's now 4 points to Bonds Flying Roos, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, last year we came in just last minute into that final and managed to pull it off. So we are not going to lose the hope, and we keep dreaming.
And how hard is it? Obviously sailing, you got to think about the points, you got to think about your other competitors. You're in a situation where you've got nothing to lose, but you need things to fall your way.
Absolutely. And during that last race, we knew that if anything, we had to pull off a good race, but we wanted to, if possible, engage with the Kiwis as well and try to screw them up a little bit. But yeah, we didn't quite manage to make that happen. We finished in front of them, but yeah, they had to lose a couple more spots to not be in that final here in Cádiz. So yeah, we get a lot of support from the coach booth there, from Joan, who has not been on the boat these days, and Simone. And yeah, hopefully we can now get back, watch a bit the videos and see how we can come back firing for Abu Dhabi.
And is it too soon to talk strategy for Abu Dhabi, or are the ideas already flowing?
The idea starts to flow, but it's very soon to speak about it publicly.
We'll have to wait and see then.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for chatting. Well done, and I hope you enjoyed racing on home waters.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to our home crowd. It's been very special. Thank you, Cádiz.
It seems that they are just going to be going full noise on that first day in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Obviously, we've just stepped off the water in Cadiz, so they know the points, but it's not like they've sat down and built their strategy. The thing is with Spain is obviously they've been in this position before, but they were in third and the French were fighting for them. I can't remember the points gap off the top of my head, but the French went for the Spanish. Then I take you back to the championship before. It was France v Great Britain, and Ben made Contan's life very difficult. You have to, in that position, got to take fate into your own hands, If you're Spain, you got to make the job really hard for Australia. But it's one of those things where we talk about match racing. You've got to hurt that team, make them get a penalty, but early enough in the race that you can then still make the start. So it's such a balancing act between risk and reward, but I'd be very surprised if we don't see them go on the attack.
It is definitely a balancing act. And they did go on the attack a couple of times here in Cadiz. I mean, they won a race, which is amazing in front of the home crowd. We were buzzing, the crowd were buzzing, weren't they, CJ?
Yeah, the crowd in Spain is always incredible. They show up with so much passion, so much cheer. They went absolutely wild when they saw the Spanish cross the line in first.
The other thing that I thought was really cool about this crowd, so I'm down on the water right near the finish. Whether the Spanish finished last or they finished in first or finished in third, the crowd was behind them. And I think that that's just so special as an athlete. You don't want to just have people behind you when you're winning. And I think that, you know, having that energy, they really took it on. And I just think it's just racing at home, there's nothing like it.
There's tons of people lining the shore. And I do think that there is an element of home racing that kind of trips teams up. We saw it with the Bonds Flying Roos. We saw it at the Black Foils in New Zealand as well. And here, yesterday, Spain had a really tough day on day one. And I just thought maybe it's the pressure.
I don't actually think it's the pressure of the home crowd. I think for this one, they didn't really have the momentum going into this weekend. We talk about momentum, yes, no. I think we saw the pressure playing on their minds, whether that's home pressure, but I really think it's final pressure. Last time we were here, they were the underdogs. Now they're returning as SailGP champions. So I think it's a little bit of a different mindset, but what I think the Spanish are really good at is when their back's against the wall, they come out firing, and that's what they did today, and it was just really special to see.
And potentially in Abu Dhabi as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree. I think the Spanish coming into this event, they had a lot of expectations on them for them to do well. They were knocking on the door, only 3 points behind New Zealand to make it into the grand final in Abu Dhabi, and so I think that was definitely where the pressure came from this weekend.
I think when you're in fourth place going into the last event of the season, and you can potentially make that grand final, you're just going to send it, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tactical game because you can't just send it. You need to play the game of chess. So they are going to spend the next 6 weeks looking at footage from Abu Dhabi, from Dubai, studying everything that came out of that. But what they're also going to be doing is creating a master plan. And I think that is something, if you're in the detail of sailing, if you're in the detail of sort of watching the games, it's a really fun game. So hopefully when we get there, we can explain it to everyone about the tactics going into the race weekend.
Yeah, well, speaking of strategy and going into that final weekend, we have a little chat with Tom Slingsby from the Bonds Flying Roos in the mix zone. Check it out.
Yeah, we're just going to prep for that, but obviously we can't really focus on the on the 3-boat final. I think the Brits probably can, and the Kiwis are a bit more safe, but us, we're going to have to think of different fleet racing scenarios and how, if the Spanish are ahead of us, how we can slow them up. And yeah, there's going to be a few different what-if scenarios for us.
And throughout your sailing career, I'm sure you've had one-on-one battles with lots of people. How do all those experiences then add up when you've got to go fully into the fight to get into that final?
I guess, we'll do whatever we have to do to make that final. If it means going after Spain, we'll go after. If it means just monitoring from afar and watching our own results, we'll do that. But if it gets close, we're going to just have to see what we have to do.
Fighting talk there from Tom Slingsby and the Bonds Flying Roos. Well, it looks like the Abu Dhabi Grand Final is going to be really interesting. To wrap things up here, can I get a high from you, CJ, and a low from you, Lisa? CJ.
Absolutely. I think we saw a lot of highs for sure, but my personal one was seeing Martine Grail get her second race win of the season. That was super awesome. It just goes to show that even though you're a new team coming into SailGP, you can still put some good results in, and I think it's really inspiring for the new Artemis Sweden team coming in. Just goes to show that if you put in some hard work, you can get some race wins in your first season.
Very, very good point. And shout out to the Brazilian team there, because everyone in Race HQ was going wild for them. Lisa, a low?
A low for me, I guess, it's hard, but Rockall Racing, I was really hoping that they would make their first final of the season. Last season, they made 5 finals. They haven't got their event win last season, so I was like willing them on. So to see them fall off the foils and slip out of that top 3 in that last race was, really rough. But, Nikolai, as always, kept a positive outlook on it for still a pretty good result.
Right, well that's it then. We are in full pack down mode here on the SailGP Tech site at the DP World Spain Sail Grand Prix Andalusia Cadiz.
But we don't have to wait too long. It will all wrap up November 29th and 30th for the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Sail Grand Prix 2025 Season Championship Grand Final, presented by Abu Dhabi Sports Council.
Yeah, thanks so much you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Until then, stay on the foils.